Good morning, everybody. Laurie Knechtel here from the Motivate Marketing and Design. It is now 1 p.m. Eastern, according to my clock. So I would like to get started and honor your time. Just want to introduce Brian from Startup Tech Unleashed. You're probably familiar with Brian. Brian invited me to lead this webinar today. Brian, do you have anything you want to say before we get started?
Not really too much, but I just want to say thank you for everybody who attended today's event. This is one of many series of webinar series that we're going to launch along with our Startup Tech Unleashed programs. Feel free to jump on our website at startuptechunleashed.com and feel free to register on any of the events from webinars to actual meetups directly on the meetup site. For more information, I'll be able to send that off to you. Now, till then, just pass it on to Lisa.
Hey everybody, welcome. So today we're talking about power of the inbox, tips and tricks for successful email marketing. And I want to encourage you as we're going along, if you have questions, please use the question area that's provided to you, and hopefully we'll have some time at the end when we wrap up for to get to those questions. I don't want to disrupt the flow of the webinar as we're going along, but please rest assured that we will get to those questions toward the end. So record them in there as they come to you. To start off, I would like to know, for those of you participating, are you already using email marketing? And if so, what platform are you using? And feel free to add a note in there about what you like or don't like, or what's troubling you, what issues or challenges you're having with email marketing. So use the question area for that, and we'll take a look at those before we get underway. Quiet group today. Well, as I wait for those answers to come in, we'll get underway just to keep things moving along here. So just a little bit about myself. Laurie Knechtel. I'm based out of Stratford, Ontario. I have my own business, Motivate Marketing and Design, and I've been using email marketing. I've been using Constant Contact specifically for email marketing for about the last 12 years. And I used it corporately first when I had a job, and then when I struck out on my own. It was the first tool I added to my tool belt because I recognized the cost-effective and highly effective nature of email marketing. So I'll share some of the how-tos with email marketing today. So again, if you have questions as we're going along, please make sure to just enter them in the question area. And please do connect with me offline. I post lots of little tips and tricks for digital marketing on my Facebook page, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can find me in a number of visual platforms as well, Pinterest, Instagram, etc. So look forward to connecting with you there. If you have any questions, you can follow up with me after that or send me an email. So a little bit about establishing your online presence first. And hopefully this isn't too foreign for you, but just to kind of reinforce how establishing an online presence these days works. Your online presence has always been predicated on search, and but now there are a couple other players, i.e., social media and email marketing, that have come to the table, and using all of those as an integrated approach is really the best way to go right now to create your optimal online presence. So search is what differentiates them is that search is inbound marketing. So when you have a website, which is what you see in the middle of this graphic, you're relying on people to be able to find you on that website by using search. And Facebook and other platforms are now getting into the search game as well. And Facebook is actually really giving Google a run for its money, although the two of them work somewhat differently. So social media is kind of two-way conversation. And it's interesting to note that while social media marketing is alive and well, and a lot of people use social media for marketing, really statistically what a lot of people are liking brands for on social media, let's say Facebook, for example, is to have access to them. So they want to learn about the company, but they want to have access. And I'll give you an example of that. I use Rogers as my as my telecom services provider. And when I have a customer service issue, I don't call them, I don't email them, I don't use an online chat through their website. I go to Twitter and I DM them, and I get a response within about 2 minutes each time. And I've never witnessed even close to that speed of response through any of the other channels. So um, a lot of brands are using social media now for customer service. So interesting to note that, and makes it important, drives home the importance of social listening. So making sure that when people engage with you on your social media platforms, that you're responsive to those, to anything, to any comments that they would be making. Email marketing, how it fits in is it's outbound marketing. So opposite to kind of your website, people are giving you their information, giving you their contact information so you can reach out to them directly. And this is gold. This is why the saying has existed for a long time that the money is in the list. You own that list. That's different than social media. With social media, as we all know, platforms, and again, I'm going to call out Facebook, but they love to change their algorithms about when your post gets seen and by how many and by whom. And so you really don't have any control over that list. It's like a rented list. But with email marketing, you own that list. You are able to contact those people directly, and you are able to determine how many people are going to see your email simply by the number of people on your list. Whereas with Facebook, the current stat for how many people see any one post of yours is around 2%. Part of the reason for that is, of course, Facebook's algorithms. Another part of the reason for that is that you're not only competing with other businesses, you're competing with personal posts as well. So when somebody looks at their Facebook stream, they're seeing business posts and personal posts from people that they are friends with, quote unquote, on Facebook. So interesting to keep that all in mind. And so there are ways that you can integrate these three different channels together to create your optimal online presence. And I will send you all a link to the slide deck afterwards, so we don't have to get into great detail about all of these different ways that you integrate these strategies. But let's look at email marketing here. So with your website, you can integrate it by adding a footer link to your subscription page, more info links, linked images to your website. Sorry, and then from your website, you want to add a link to your subscription form. You want that call to action to be really super easy to find. You want it to be above the scroll line when somebody goes to your website, and or in the form of a pop-up. Now I know that pop-ups are tremendously annoying for all of us, but you know what? They're super, super effective. So don't discount, especially if you have something like a WordPress site where you can just add a plugin that allows you to create a pop-up. You want to be doing that to get people's attention, to promote the fact that you have a mailing list, that you have a newsletter, and you also want to make it super easy for people to subscribe. And then, from your email, I mentioned the ways you can integrate with your website, but you can also integrate with social media by using a social share bar that allows people to link to their own networks and share your emails with their networks. You also want them to be able to easily connect with you on your networks. Those are social icons that you would put probably at the bottom of your email. And the third, and this is a really awesome characteristic feature of Constant Contact, is that there's a simple share option. So when you schedule your email to go out, you can also schedule it to post automatically to LinkedIn, to Twitter, and to Facebook. I should say, and or to Facebook. So you don't have to grab the link and go over to those platforms to post your newsletter. So you're reaching out way beyond your mailing list to each of your audiences on those individual platforms as well, and you're doing so automatically, so it's hands off. So please, you know, take another look at this slide if you like once you get the slide deck. But moving on, a little bit about email marketing. Now, I didn't hear from anybody about whether you're doing email marketing or not. So just a very quick overview so that we're all on the same page about what it is. It's delivering professional email communications to people that are interested in your product and or services or you know, events or whatever it is that you do. You want those campaigns to look beautiful, and we'll talk a bit more about that as well. And not just look beautiful, but be branded and be consistent with the look and feel of the rest of your online and offline marketing collateral. And then you want it to contain information, obviously, that your audience finds valuable and wants to hear. And also, you want it to be measurable. And that's one of the big reasons that standard email falls short, is you cannot measure who's opening it, when they're opening it, how many times they're opening it, what they're clicking on, what links they're clicking on, who they're sharing it with, and what networks they're using to share it. All of that information, you cannot get that from standard email. There are a few other benefits as well that we'll get into as we move along here. So just keep that all in mind. Quick agenda here, things that we want to talk about in this limited time we have together. The number one app on smartphones. We think about all the apps that we add to our smartphones, but we don't think about the apps that our smartphones generally come loaded with already. The number one app on smartphones is actually email. So, you know, if I'm putting this into context, think about when you wake up in the morning, and I'm as guilty as anybody else. I've got my phone right beside me. I take it off of airplane mode, and the first thing I do is check my email before I'm even out of bed. Do I check social media in the morning? Usually not until I kind of get my day underway after, you know, the craziness of the day subsides and I'm into my work. But I always check my email, and also keep in mind that more than half of all emails, and this actually happened for the first time last year in 2015. More than half of all emails are opened on a mobile device. So the consumption of online content, especially emails, but also websites, you know, social media, what have you, has uh, transcended or surpassed that of, sorry, not online content, mobile consumption of content has surpassed that of desktop consumption of content. And that happened for the first time last year, and you are going to continue to see that trajectory rise for consumption of mobile consumption of content. So we need to make sure that when we're sending people content, i.e. in this case, emails, that they're mobile friendly or better yet, mobile responsive. So they look great across all screen sizes on all devices, and they're going to be able to easily scan and or read the content that you're sending them. And interesting and kind of gross stat, more people in the world own a cell phone than a toothbrush. That's a little bit disturbing, but nevertheless, it just drives home the point that mobile devices are everywhere. Everybody across almost every socioeconomic class has them. So we want to be designing for mobile. We want to always be aware that mobile is a big factor. So as I mentioned just a moment ago, and clearly I'm not the only one who reads my device in bed. I know that to be true. But here's a couple maybe waking up in the morning before they even get started. She's lucky. Somebody's brought her coffee in bed. But people read email, and this is how people's days start, you know, by and large. So 91% of people check their email daily. And for me, I'm big on email. That stat actually sounds low, but when we think about people whose jobs don't require email, people who maybe seniors who don't, like my parents, don't use their email, they don't check their email hardly at all, you know, and then maybe people who are traveling who don't have access to their email while they're abroad or whatever the case might be, you know, that might account for that other 9% in there. 88% regularly check email on their smartphones. So again, driving home the importance of having mobile-friendly campaigns when you send them out. And also email's reliable. So I was mentioning this before, email gets delivered 90+% of the time. Now there are those factors where security settings on your recipient's end are too high or preclude you getting through to them. They haven't added you to your address book or what have you. You've got bounces, you've got, whatever the case might be. If you get trapped in spam filters, and we will talk about how you can avoid that. But 90+% delivery rate they are compared to Facebook, where just 2% of your fans see any one of your posts. So significant difference there. And why email? It works everywhere. It works on every device. It works anywhere in the world. It works with throughout every industry. So it's a highly effective channel. And email marketing, this is super important. 3 times the conversion rate of social media. If you're selling something or if you're trying to get butts and seats at an event, email marketing gets you 3 times the conversion rate. For every dollar spent on email marketing, there's an average right now 44.25 ROI, return on investment. So you're not getting near that return on investment for any other channel or strategy that you're going to be using online. And first impressions matter. So, I mean, I'm not even going to ask the question because it's kind of silly. Of course, what would you prefer to see? You would prefer to see the right image than the left image. If you're giving a gift to somebody, what would they prefer to get? If you're sending them an email, what would they prefer to see, the left or the right? So, kind of a bit of a stretch, that comparison, but really what we're trying to do is say that, you know, you can send an email and the content can be the same, but how compelled are people going to be to act accordingly on your call to action with the left email example here versus that one on the right? I think it kind of answers itself. It doesn't require me to open the lines up here for everybody to chime in. So a lot of different factors go into making the email campaign on the right more successful than that one on the left. A bit about the one on the right and why it really doesn't work that well. So, and you'll recognize some of these if you've ever tried to send a batch email out to a group of significant group of people. First of all, there's there's a sending limit. So, say you're using Outlook or Gmail or what have you, it really doesn't matter. You usually have to split your group up into segments and send 20 at a time or what have you, and then people see everybody else's email addresses there. There's no formatting control either. So I know with Outlook, I don't use it, but the last time I checked, they had that outdated stationery that you could use as a background. But that's about as exciting as your emails get. Yes, you can add a signature line as well that might have a graphic in it, but it really limits you as far as the branding goes, and it certainly doesn't allow you to really match the rest of your online and offline branding. It's also susceptible to filters, to spam filters. There's no cohesive branding, as I mentioned before. Potential spam complaints from people because you're sending out bulk emails, and that's not widely accepted. You have to BCC to obscure people's addresses. So usually in the to line, you'll put your own address, and then in the BCC area, you'll obscure everybody else's addresses if you're doing it right, so that nobody sees anybody else's address. But they're still aware that you're sending out a bulk email. And possible ISP suspension. So I've done this seminar live, and I get people chiming in going, that happened to us, because they're sending bulk emails out through their standard email client. Constant Contact, and I'm sure other email marketing platforms as well, have huge departments of people whose only job is to make sure that your email campaigns reach people's inboxes and don't get caught in spam filters and or identified as spam. And finally, as I mentioned before, with a standard email, no tracking or reporting. So you're not able to see who's opening it, when, how many times they're opening it, who they're sending it to, what they're clicking on, et cetera, et cetera. Versus email marketing that looks beautiful, that's branded, makes you look great. And there's a number of things that automatically happen when you're using a marketing platform like Constant Contact. First of all, you have access to beautiful templates. Now, if you're somebody who's not doing email marketing and you want to get started, there's an offer at the end of this that I'll share with you all that Constant Contact makes available through authorized local experts like myself. And you can sign up with them, and they will design a custom email template for you that matches your website or any of your marketing collateral that you have. So it reinforces your brand identity, which is really important because you want people to recognize you and your business regardless of where they see you. So in your inbox, in their inbox, online, social media, offline, what have you. It also automatically manages your subscriptions for you. So you're not having to manually add people and remove people from your mailing list if somebody requests to be unsubscribed. You can still do that, but for every link that you're providing to your mailing list, Constant Contact is going to manage that. When somebody signs up, it goes straight to your database in Constant Contact and you're hands off. Like I said, it also ensures email delivery. It allows you to track the results of your campaign, which is important because you want to know what's working and what's not, so that you know what people are interested in as far as your products or services go. But it also helps you improve your campaigns going forward, so you know what kind of content people are responding to. And it allows you to be CASL compliant. So CASL, which is Canada's anti-spam legislation, um, the latest iteration kicked off July 1st of 2014, and we're in kind of a transitional period right now. So you want to make sure that you're complying with CASL regulations. I am going to be sending a follow-up email with this slide deck that will have links to additional information about CASL. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to use the question area here or follow up with me via email or on social media afterwards, and I can provide you with more information as well. But there are certain requirements by CASL that you want to ensure that you're using in order to be compliant. One of those, for example, is the unsubscribe mechanism. So when somebody clicks unsubscribe or requests to be unsubscribed, Constant Contact handles that automatically for you. If they sent you an email and request to unsubscribe, you would have 10 business days or 2 weeks to unsubscribe them in order to remain compliant with CASL. So that's just one example of the legislation that Constant Contact automatically takes care of for you. So how to grow a healthy list. Presumably you're growing a list because, like I said before, the money is in the list. You own it and nobody else, so you have control over it. And you can grow your list how and where you want. And yes, you have to, because CASL, the anti-spam legislation, Canada's anti-spam legislation, is all about permission. It's all about ensuring that you have permission from all of the people on your list to send them newsletters. So how do you ask for permission? You want to get express consent. So if you're at a networking meeting, if you're in your store, for example, or office, and you have a form at the front desk or the checkout, you have a form there or a fishbowl with a sign that says, or enter your business card here for our monthly draw, and or sign up for our email newsletter and be entered into our monthly draw kind of thing. So you can incentivize it, but you want to make sure that people know when they're signing a form or giving you their business card that they know that they're going to be getting your newsletter and going on your mailing list. Be straightforward about what to expect with your newsletter. What kind of information are they going to be able to expect? Not everybody offers discounts. In fact, for me, I send monthly marketing tips from my newsletter called eTips. So it's not all about discounts, but you want to make sure that they know the kind of information they're going to be getting from you. And make sure, as I said before, that you've got an unsubscribe mechanism on your newsletter somewhere so that people can easily opt out if and when they decide to. If the information you're sending is no longer relevant to them, or they've changed their mind, or they're just getting too many emails, whatever the case is, you want the unsubscribe process to be quick and painless, because nothing is more frustrating with email newsletters than not being able to unsubscribe. And I've seen some really big companies who did it really poorly. They've since updated, but you're having to jump through hoops to unsubscribe, and that's not Castle compliant. Respect people's privacy, so you're not sharing your list with anybody else, and you're only sending them the information that you said you would be sending them. And always just ensure that you're being legally compliant in all aspects of Castle with all of the different requirements. So include a permission reminder in your email that says you're receiving this email because you signed up for it or you indicated an interest in, or whatever the case might be. We've all seen those messages before at the top of our email at other people's email campaigns. So that's just an example of what the permission reminder is. And where to ask. So ask everywhere you're online. And here's an example. This website you see here, there's a button at the top that says subscribe to my newsletter, subscribe in this case to eTips. So when they click on that button, they're taken to a little subscription form. And when we're talking about what information you need in order to add somebody to your mailing list, the less the better. I always implore people to use the golden rule with email marketing and any kind of marketing. How do you want to be marketed to? How do you want to, so in this particular case with a form, yes, you need their email address. And of course, to customize emails, which you want to be doing with personalized greetings, you want their first name. Beyond that, do you need their last name? You don't need it necessarily. Is there any other information that you need from them for other purposes? Possibly, but the less information you ask for, the better the chance that they're going to continue through and persevere with the sign-up process. The more you ask for, the better chance that they're going to abandon the sign-up process, because they'll get to the point where they'll be like, they don't need all this information, and they'll feel that their privacy is being infringed upon. So once they sign up, then they get an automated welcome email. They may even be entered into an autoresponder that sets off a series of emails over the course of, a couple weeks or whatever, so that you're keeping yourself top of mind, and also you're getting some information out to them right away so that they remember that they signed up, and then they get entered into the kind of the regular flow of, your monthly or biweekly emails from that point. And where to ask. So ask, besides your website, ask everywhere. And there's so many different ways that you can do it. So if you do a lot of events, or if you participate in a lot of events, make sure that you have a business card or something that has a link to your mailing list so people can easily sign up. Add a QR code. Constant Contact allows you to generate a QR code that you can add to all of your printed collateral, including the back of your business card, so people can scan it and be taken straight to your subscription form. If you have a bricks and mortar type business, add it to your sidewalk signs, your sandwich boards, either the QR code or an easy link that people can go to sign up. Make sure that if you're using a form, and yes, paper and pen still works, but make sure that you don't automatically check the box. Castle requires that people have to actively check the box to say, yes, please add me to your mailing list. So if that's the way that you're going to be doing your, growing your list, make sure that your form has an unchecked box if you're using a checkbox, so that people have to actively check it off. You can use a fishbowl on your counter or at an event or what have you, with a sign beside it that says, drop your business card here to be added to our mailing list. You'll receive, and this is where you set the expectations of the kind of information and the general frequency that you're going to be sending emails. But it doesn't matter what methods you use, just make sure that you're asking consistently. If you've got a staff, make sure that you train your staff to consistently ask people if they want to be added to your mailing list. And at the end of this, I'll share a link for you to go to. I've got a free piece of content that I'll share with you if you just go sign out a form. It's called 50 Ways to Grow Your List. So if you're interested in growing your list, there are ways on there for everybody, and not any one person is going to be able to use all 50, but there are so many online and offline simple tips, some of them kind of out of the box, but tons of ideas there for helping you to grow your contact list. So a note here, a little further note here about QR codes for collecting content. Again, Constant Contact makes it easy to generate one. Other marketing platforms may have this feature as well, but a great way to catch the attention of the segment of smartphone or mobile device users who do like using the QR code scanner. Scanners these days are super reliable and super fast. I'm constantly using the scanner on my iPhone to test out QR codes. I'm always interested to see where a business directs people using a QR code. And I've noticed the proliferation on wine and craft beer bottles, so VQA wine and craft beer bottles, where they use it to take you to a special page on their website for more information. So I really like that idea, and this tactic is well used. So make sure to take advantage of that. And don't forget, like I said, give them a reason to join and let them know when to expect it and what they can expect. Here's some additional ideas for content that you could be sending people. So ongoing education, which is kind of more what I do, ebook, white paper if you're an author or you have a blog, for example. VIP preference, so people who interact with your brand regularly, whether they're making purchases, showing up at your events, supporting you on social media, what have you. Make sure that you have a VIP list and you recognize who those people are, because you want to continue to nurture relationships with them so they continue to be your VIPs. But there's tons of different ideas here for information that you can send. And keep in mind, the number one reason for an unsubscribe is irrelevant content. So make sure to segment your list so that when you send any piece of information out, it's only going to the people who you know have indicated an interest in receiving that kind of information. So if you offer services and do events and participate in, volunteer initiative or what have you, make sure when you send out news about any one of those that that news is only going to the people who have signed up for that particular information. So next, we're talking about creating great content. Um, Content always tends to trip people up because not everybody's a writer, and we tend to think of content as, you need reams and reams or paragraphs and paragraphs in order to put a newsletter together. But the truth is, most newsletters these days, well, the newsletter is kind of faded away a bit. Some businesses still send a newsletter because it's appropriate for their business, but a lot of times what you're seeing is much shorter and or visual content in newsletters. So, and this is great news because not only is it easy for us to produce that kind of content, but we don't even need to produce it. We can curate content to be able to send out to other people just by sharing with them information that we've learned or a blog post that we've read, for example, and we can provide some commentary on it. We know it's relevant to us, it's relevant to our audience, and super easy to share, and it saves you the trouble of having to constantly be creating new content. But a few things you want to do: focus on being relevant, figure out how much is enough, and really less is more. So, like I said, you don't need to be sending out a multi-segment newsletter. Send out like I send out tips on digital marketing tips for people. If that's your thing, send that out. The how-tos, even if you deal in products and you don't want to be constantly sending out discounts, send out tips and tricks or DIY tips and tricks for using your product. Create a pin board about different ways to use your product or your service, and then link to those pins from your newsletter. Lots of different ways that you can create good, engaging content. Another way you can create content is, what are the questions that you get asked most by your clients or customers? Turn those questions into content. So if somebody's asking you, how do I do this? Send out a newsletter to your whole list that's top 5 ways to, and whatever that question was, turn it into a top 5 list or a DIY list, a how-to list. And images are content too. So super easy. We've all got the ability to make visual content just from our smartphone, whether it's a low-res video or a low-res photo that we're going to post to Instagram or somewhere. That photo can also be turned into content for your newsletter. So keep that in mind as well as you're creating visual content. Is this something that I can turn around and use in a future email campaign? And be sure to put your reader's interests ahead of your own. When you're creating content, you're not creating content for yourself, you're creating content for your audience. Cute pic. 38% of people will unsubscribe if it's boring, and 32% send it to spam if it's irrelevant. And even more than that, as we discussed previously, will unsubscribe from your newsletter. So like I said, less is more. If we want to talk specifics, here's some ways to quantify what the maximum amount of content should be for optimal engagement. No more than 20 lines of text and no more than 3 images, but I would stress that you want to focus your content into one key call to action. So, and also, keep it to 1 to 2 images even. The more images, the more text, and the more links that you offer in a newsletter, the more people are going to have paralysis by analysis. They're not going to take any of the actions that you've asked them to take because you're offering them too much. So keep it super, super focused in order to be successful with both email marketing and social media marketing. And if you look here at the links, just a quick graphic for you, the extreme drop off when you offer one link, the clicks per link is the click rate is 0.07. When you start adding additional links, you radically start decreasing your click-through rate. So keep that in mind. A couple examples of how to turn questions into content. And these are for different kinds of businesses. So, the first one is, probably a plumber. The second one is like an accountant or a bookkeeper. And the third might be, an event planner, for example. How do I get more people to attend my events? And like I said, images are content too. In fact, 90% of the information that the brain processes is visual. We are hardwired to process visual content ahead of text that we have to read. So, and who doesn't love a picture of chocolate, right? So when you're working with photos, a few things to keep in mind. Choose the right size, not too big, not too small, and make sure that you tag your images for accessibility purposes. So for people who are visually impaired, you can add an alt tag or a description to your image when you insert it in Constant Contact. And so for anybody who's visually impaired, they can hover over that image and they'll have software on their computer that reads the image description or the alt tag to them. So, the same applies to website design. So that really enhances the accessibility of your email campaigns. The same is true for people using, say, Outlook, for example, who's notorious for not showing images by default. You want to make sure that instead of them seeing that little red X up in the top corner with a box where your image should be, that they get to read the image description, and then they can choose to download these images and show the images. Avoid copyright issues. Make sure that the content that you're using is either your own and or that you have the right to use that content. So, and if you're short on visual content, you can find stock images. And in fact, with Constant Contact, there's a whole image library there, and there's some free images, some stock images, and you can also access through Big Stock paid images as well. So not tough to find good images to put in your content. Just make sure to avoid copyright issues because those get expensive. So Big Stock Photo is one example of many of stock photography websites that you can visit, and you buy credits, and then you can buy, on an as-needed basis, purchase stock photography. Make your images clickable. So when I was talking about, adding that alt tag or the image description, you can also add a link wherever you want that image to lead. If no other place, link it to your website for sure, but you can link it to your Facebook page or a third-party site or a blog post, what have you. Keep the key action above the scroll line. So if you've got, in this case, you see there's view listings. You want to make sure that people don't have to scroll down to see what it is that you want them to do. You're going to increase your click-through rate by keeping your call to action above the scroll line. And like I said before, limit the choices that you offer. So how to design a beautiful mobile-friendly template. And I touched on this before. You want to look great. You want to be recognizably used so that your website matches your Facebook page, matches your email campaign, for example, and look good in any inbox. So, making sure when you're using a marketing platform, an email marketing platform, their templates are mobile friendly by default. So it just takes all of the guesswork out of designing for mobile. And also make sure, that your branding is consistent. So again, when you have somebody that designs, I highly recommend, if you're not using Constant Contact, you don't want to get started with that. When you do, whichever platform you use, get a professionally designed template that has a strong resemblance, is consistent with the branding and the appearance to your website and your other online and offline collateral, because then all you have to do is enter content. You know that it's designed well, that it's going to show up well on every device, and you can just get on with sending your emails. And use similar language as well. So, in summary, a single column template for works really well. That is going to allow you to be mobile friendly. When you get into multiple columns and you're trying to read them on a smartphone, when you think about that, it's not highly legible, and you're going to have to do a lot of pinching and bloating to navigate around the screen and read all of the content. Again, fewer than 3 images, fewer than 20 lines of text, and no more than 3 to 5 links, although the more focused you can keep it, the better, with the key action being above the scroll line. So how do you get your emails open? Oh, he's cute. Give them 4 reasons to pay attention, and let's break this down. One, you want them, when your email ends up in their inbox, you want them to recognize the sender. So the best way to do that is think about, how do people know you? Do they know you by your personal name, or do they know you by your business name? And who are they expecting to hear from when they sign up for your email? Are they expecting to hear from Laurie Knechtel? Are they expecting to hear from eMotivate Marketing and Design? Make sure that your subject line is compelling. There's lots of different ways you can, lots of different things that you can put in the subject line, but it's worth an investment of time to make sure that the subject line is compelling, is going to garner a high open rate. And if you're having trouble with your subject line, there are tools that you can use. So if you just Google subject line tool, you'll get a number of different, Touchstone is the name of one that comes to mind, but a number of different tools will come up, and use one of them to enter in the subject line you're planning to use, and then click the little button, and they will actually give you a ranking, and then they will actually also, the tool will give you suggestions for improving your subject line, whether it's the length of it or the words that you're using or what have you. Always lots of great tools for making your email campaigns better. Another thing is timing. That's kind of an intangible, but it's super important. So there is no one good time for sending an email, and people constantly ask, and some marketers will tell you that, give you a blanket statement that, Tuesday mornings at 6 a.m. is the best time to send an email. Well, they don't have your mailing list, and you don't have the same mailing list as anyone else. So you need to know your audience, and you need to pay attention to your metrics to ensure that every time you send an email, you're sending it at a time in accordance with when the most people opened your last campaign until you get to the point where you know this is the best day of the week, this is the best time of day to send an email. Sometimes weekends are better for certain businesses. Sometimes early morning, sometimes late night. I know not for email marketing, but for Twitter. My audience on Twitter is most active at about between 11 o'clock p.m. and 1 a.m. So, and you only learn that from doing. So it's important. You can start off with a suggestion from somebody else about when you should be sending, but you always want to be looking at your metrics to make sure that the metrics bear that out. And also make sure that you have easy social options. So you're fully integrated with social media and that people can access your newsletter from social media and can access your social media from email, that they can sign up through social media as well. All of that's important. You want to be sharing your emails on social media as well, like I said, so you can really reach behind your mailing list as far as who's able to read your emails. So breaking it down, who sent it? How do people know you best? Like I said, make your from name and from email recognizable. How do people know you across these various platforms? Is it worth reading? Identify your purpose, be clear, be clever, be compelling, but don't be misleading. Don't mislead them about what is in your email. And size matters as far as subject lines go. Longer subject lines beyond probably 7 words tend to get lost and don't have as high an open rate as shorter. 5 to 7 words tops. But if you use a subject line tool, you're going to get the help you need to create a good, compelling subject line. So 30 to 40 characters max, 6 to 10 words max. I like 5 to 7 words, but 10 absolute maximum. And also create pre-header text. So constant contact, again, for example, allows you to create what's called pre-header. So beyond the subject line, in people's inboxes, they'll probably see the subject line, who it's from, but they'll also see kind of some starting text that gives them an introduction to the email. So take advantage of that text that people will see in their inbox, and that will help sway them to open your email. As mentioned, so you see how it's laid out here. And choose your words carefully. So there's a lot of words in this word cloud here that are used very commonly, and they don't always have the best results. So there's a couple of things that you can do to circumvent this or to ensure that you're not using what we like to call spammy terminology. One is the subject line tool that I mentioned. Another one is right within Constant Contact, there's a spam check um, tool that allows you to click on the button once you've fully put your campaign together, and you will get feedback about your subject line, your pre-header, and your content, and also, the number of images that you might have in there and the number of links that you might have in there. And you're going to get either a green check mark or a yellow or a red. And the yellow obviously tells you there's some improvement to be made. Red is, don't send this campaign. And the beauty is that they give you suggestions for how to improve your campaign before you send it out. So great tool to use to help you send campaigns that are going to be highly regarded rather than kind of feeling like spam. Like I said, timing is everything. Don't just think about what day and time, but also think about, sorry, I'm going ahead here, but also think about the frequency. And I get asked all the time what the most common frequency is, or what the recommended frequency is. It really has to do with your business. If you're a retail outlet, there might be times a year like Christmas or other holidays where daily is as ridiculous as it sounds and sometimes as it feels. Daily is sometimes not a stretch, but really the most common frequency is monthly. Anything less than that, and you might have people forgetting why they subscribed. So think about how much you have to say, and then plan accordingly. But always ensure that you're keeping the promises you made in terms of content delivery and the frequency that you're sending. Coordinate the timing across all of your channels so that you're sending similar messaging out across your channels, and determine whether something's urgent. If it's urgent, then you don't want to schedule it. You want to just send it out right away. And day and time, we talked about. Ensure, again, I've got ahead of myself, ensure that you're finding the best day of the week, the best time of day for you, and always be testing. Always, split up, do A/B testing if you like, and it's super easy to do. Split your list into 2 or 3 segments and send on 2 to 3 different days of the week. Do the same with times of day, and also you can do it with subject lines to test which subject lines work the best. But always be looking at your analytics, which are, abundant, and see what works and what doesn't. And emails with social media buttons increase your click-through rate. So, always be using these social links so people can engage with you on your social media networks and also share your email with their social networks. And like I mentioned before, track your results. Know what metrics matter, and then use that data to make decisions to improve each campaign going forward. Otherwise, why are you even bothering? And focus on the click-throughs, not just the opens. So you want people to be taking the action that you want them to take. Why are you sending out the email? What do you want people to do? And you don't have to guess because you've got the data there every time you send out an email campaign. So an example of opens, you can see 98 unique opens there. Unique means uh, individuals that have opened, not how many times they've opened it, because some people will come back to your email and open it multiple times. So unique opens relates to how many different individuals have opened your emails. Gauge interest and determine the best day and time just by looking at opens. Industry averages are anywhere from 8 to 28%, and actually in Constant Contact, you can indicate what industry you're in, and then every time you send a campaign, they'll show you the industry average open rate and click-through rate, and compare that to the results that you've gotten from your campaigns. And click-throughs, you can measure success that way and identify who the engaged readers are. So who are the ones that are taking the action that you want them to take. That's going to show you what their interest level, what their interests are, and also tell you who's really engaged in reading your and interacting with your content. And you see industry averages there as well. It's important also to look at some of the more negative data that you see. So the ones that didn't open, the unsubscribes, the bounce rates, that kind of thing. You want to keep a clean list, and you want to know which types of campaigns are garnering more unsubscribes, or where people aren't even opening their emails. So then you want to review. You want to re-engage them with a specific campaign with just the people who aren't opening your emails, to ask them, if they want to change their preferences or what have you, and test new methods of sending, try different subject lines, etc., different times of day in order to garner more opens and get those people re-engaged. And opt-outs, like I said, you want to be collecting feedback about why people are opting out, and then adjust your mailing strategy accordingly. And all of this is very easy to do because the data is all there for you to review. So with bounces, you want to keep your list clean. Identify bad addresses, maintain a clean list or clean lists, so that only the people that are engaged and have subscribed and are active subscribers are on your lists. And when you check your bounced emails in Constant Contact, you'll get reasons for every bounce. So non-existent email address versus a suspended email address versus timed out kind of thing. So taking a closer look here at the click-through. When you click on the click-through rate, it'll bring up a list of all the links in your campaign, so you can look specifically at what links are getting garnering the most links, pardon me, and you can click on each of those numbers in the list there under unique clicks, and you'll see who clicked on each of those links. So great data to be able to focus on people that are highly engaged with your campaigns. So there you see a list of who has clicked on that particular link. And then you can take the people that have clicked on your link and add them to a new list. So you can create a VIP list, for example, like I was talking about before. So with small business, there's so much on our plates. We wear all of the hats in our business. We do it all. But, you know, it's important that we have the right tools to be able to do it efficiently and effectively and cost effectively as well. And, you know, we're nurturing relationships where you want to be delivering on your promise when you're engaging with potential customers and clients, and you want to get measurable results. You want to drive sales. You want to drive traffic. And the beauty is that as a small business, you have an advantage, and that's the direct connection to your customers. You're able to be yourself, which is a significant advantage that you would not see if you're working for a larger corporation. So 3 simple steps to get going. Get your contact list in order and create a campaign, hit send, and then watch what happens, i.e. make sure that you're measuring. And if you're interested in getting started today, there's obviously a lot more that we can talk about, but Constant Contact's current offer is, as you see here on your screen, it's just open until the end of June. But I offer a getting started guided demonstration through Constant Contact. So if you're interested in getting started with email marketing, you can certainly get in touch with me directly. Email me at Laurie@emotivatemarketing.com or connect with me. I am going to be sending you a follow-up so you can reply to that email. And if you're already using Constant Contact, I can help you with a complimentary account review as well. Just touch base with me and we'll talk about that further. And if you'd like to get that 50 Ways to Grow Your List piece that I talked about, the ebook, just go to emotivatemarketing.info and just fill in your information there, and I'll make sure that I send you the 50 Ways to Grow Your List email. You can also choose to subscribe to my mailing list at that point if you so choose. So that is it for me. And Brian, did you have any questions or comments at this time? And certainly anybody else on the line, you can also at this point use the questions area to ask any questions you might have.
Actually, right now, Laurie, I don't have anything else to say. I just want to say thank you so much for your time today, for talking directly to our members, and to all our members out there. Keep tuned, or stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more webinars training in the next little bit, including coming out to our events. So if you have any other questions, feel free to drop me a line at info@startuptech.com or drop by our website at startuptech.unleashed.com. Thank you. Back to you, Laura. Back to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Brian. We'll be sharing this recording with everybody. So thanks for attending today. And it is now 1:59. So we will wrap it up here and send you out the recording. Thanks so much, everybody, for attending today. Have a great day.